What's going on, guys? Dots here, and today I'm bringing you my updated UI and graphics guide for Black Desert Online, with these settings being more focused on performance while still having, good enough graphics so that your game still does look pretty good. Haven't updated this guide in about 8 months, and the last time I made this video, I actually had a completely different PC than I have right now, and so I figured it was time to update this guide and let you know what my current UI configuration is and how I have my settings set up, so that if you want to kind of squeeze the most performance out of your game while still having decent looking graphics, this guide will be for you. Now, before we do get into today's video, I do just want to thank today's sponsor, eWin Racing. I've been using an eWin Racing gaming chair for my stream setup for a long time now, and I absolutely love it. It's got all the things you would expect from your gaming chair. It's got a lumbar pillow, it's got a neck support. You are able to move the back up and down. Of course, you are able to ascend and descend with an arm on the side of the chair, and you are also able to move and adjust the angle of the armrest, which can be really, really handy depending on where you have your mouse positioned. The build quality of the chair is really, really good. It's extremely comfortable, and I'm able to sit in this thing for hours with absolutely no issue. If you want to pick up a chair for yourself, I personally have the Champion model. You are able to go onto eWin's website and shop their current available listings. They have some current deals and ongoings on their homepage. You can then look at their list of gaming chairs as well as their new line of gaming desks and find some specials of what they have on for sale. You can pick anything up from their store for 30% off using code DOTS at checkout and clicking the link in the description below. All right, guys, now that we are back from the ad break, let's jump right into the settings. I'm going to go through all the settings that I have, kind of explain why I use them and why I have them, and then you can kind of choose which settings of that you like, maybe you want to change, etc. So the first thing that I have right here is the texture quality. I actually have that at high. Surprisingly enough, I found putting my textures on high instead of medium actually gave me less stutter. I found less stutter on high than I did on medium. I believe I read somewhere that actually when you lower the texture quality, BDO actually has to work to make the textures worse for your computer. So I personally recommend running your textures on medium or high. Game still looks good, obviously, with both of them, but surprisingly, I found that my stutters were a little bit less frequent when my textures were on high. In terms of graphics, I play on medium. I find this to just be kind of the best cross between game appearance and performance. I also do use these settings when I grind and when I play in Node Wars, and the game still performs really, really well. And I personally just think, medium graphics with either medium or high textures, it gives you a quality looking game and still gives you some really good performance. Obviously, we don't have any high-end graphics on because, again, this is focused on getting a lot of FPS. We use FXAA anti-aliasing. I feel that I need anti-aliasing. With this as not applied, the game looks really sharp, too sharp. So I do think that the anti-aliasing is necessary. I do have SSAO on for a little bit better looking shadows. I just think it makes the game look better overall. I also do have faraway NPCs turned on. Otherwise, you get those black clay NPCs as you're running towards them, and it looks pretty bad. And then I also have reduced snow buildup checked, but everything else is pretty much left unchecked. It's just kind of unnecessary effects that I just don't really feel that I need, so I just turn them off. Now, optimization is kind of where things get started. So I actually have auto optimization turned off. We don't really need this because we have other settings that we have set up that we don't this will mess with those settings and turn things off and change things to try and maintain a certain FPS, but we're going to optimize our game in other areas, so we really don't need to turn this setting on. We're not using upscaling. I personally thought the AMD FSR looked a little weird, so I prefer to just play on medium graphics. You want to turn off low power option. If you leave this turned on, your game will use less resources, so it'll run a little bit worse. So I recommend turning it off. I personally do have attack decisions on. This is something that I like to see. I know some people, don't really care about seeing this, but I personally do like having this on. So, if it's off, I believe you get a little bit more performance, but I don't think it's worth it for me because I really like to see the, back attacks, knockdowns, critical stuff like that. Same thing with Misc effect, same logic as attack decisions. You also want to turn on performance optimization. If you have a really solid PC and you have enough headroom for BDO to use more of your computer, highly recommend turning this on because it is just going to basically, again, give more resources to BDO so that the game can run better. Now, we have effect optimization. This is where we do the optimization really for the majority of the effects and the graphics, and which is why we don't have auto frame optimization turned on. You're going to want to turn this on and then put it at like about, I would say like 40% from the left. I find this to be the greatest cross between like being able to see effects on my screen with like cutting out extra stuff that I don't need. I'm able to see all of the really important stuff. If you lower this too much, you'll end up losing too many effects. But personally, I've never like not been able to see like something coming my way or something hitting me with it at about here. But then it helps optimize the game to run better because there's not as many effects on your screen. We also turned off character optimization just because I just don't feel that I need it. Again, I want to be able to see other adventurers when I'm playing PvPing, etc. So turning this off could cause problems there. Same thing with hide other adventurers. If you don't really PvP at all, you could potentially turn that off if you want to get extra performance. But for me, I don't want my game ever really hiding any players. I always want to be able to see them, so I do leave that unchecked. Camera performance wise, we do overall camera effect turned down to 0, camera vision range turned up to 100. Workers and pets, I don't check work progress. I hide the pets. I personally don't feel the need to see them. And then I also have hide certain NPCs turned on. If an NPC is so unnecessary that BDO is willing to hide it in its settings, I don't need it to see it, so I just turn it off. Display settings, we use windowed full screen. I use windowed full screen because I stream and I need to multitask and, click a bunch, around my different monitors and stuff. If you do not find yourself multitasking as much, clicking around your different monitors while you play or just doing things in general, your game will have better performance on full screen. But for me, I just always have to use window full screen because I do multitask a lot on my PC. Screen resolution, set it to whatever the resolution of your main monitor is. UI scale, I leave it 100. Now, this setting I highly recommend turning on for everybody. This gives a massive amount of performance. That's going to be crop mode. So you're going to want to turn crop mode on. And personally, what I did, little bit of like a good brain itch here, is that I basically cut off enough display height that, as you can see, the line of the game goes right underneath the text for my health and for my BSR, right above my, buttons at the bottom. So it's like in a really, really solid spot. And believe it or not, cutting off even just this tiny amount of screen gives me a bunch of frames back. So I highly recommend turning on crop mode. Definitely worth it. In terms of display quality, these are a lot of the similar effects that we have kind of looked at earlier. We do have some extra stuff down here. So if you go down to under optimization, so I do have blood spatter and bloodstains turned off. Optimization, again, we don't have that turned on. Remove others effects, you want to leave that off. We want to be able to see them because, again, the effect optimization takes care of that. But we do want to check on remove far away effects. Again, if something is so far away from me that it's not going to be able to affect me, I don't care about it. So I do want to turn those off for performance. And then again, no upscaling, and make sure your low power option is turned off here as well. Under effects, I have adjust gamma at 0, adjust contrast at 0, adjust the seer monitor as needed. Effect opacity, I personally set at 75. I found sometimes that at 100% effect opacity, I had a little bit of trouble kind of seeing what was going on, tracking people, etc. So I personally recommend going between like 60 and 75%. But, if you just want the full effects of, everything that you're doing, maybe you don't really PvP at all, jack that up to 100. Go ahead and do that. I kind of leave this up to you, but this is kind of where I found a comfortable opacity. Combat focus, I have at 100. Color vision, I don't use, but if you do, need that, you could obviously turn it on. Camera graphics, again, camera vision range at 100. I turned vibration, overall camera effect down to 0. Blur is at 10. Camera action angles at 50. Camera zoom action is at 50. Screenshots, you set that to your own liking. Audio, I have whisper alert turned on, nearby music turned on, system tray sound turned off, combat music is off. I listen to music usually while I play BDO or like watch YouTube videos or stuff. NPC voice language, I have in English. Overall volume, again, that's obviously to your own likings. I stream, so I have it pretty low. Sound effects, I have though turned on. Sound volume turned on, very volume turned on, even though my various hidden, so I don't really hear her. General settings, quality of life, I do recommend putting on aim assistance. I think it is very, very useful. And also separable quick slots is really, really good too to help get your quick slots down here. Now, I highly recommend leaving combat assistance turned off. When I was really new, I found it, recommended for new adventurers. I actually did find it kind of useful when I was new. But as I kind of started to get a little bit more experience with the game, I found that in certain situations, the combat assistance was forcing my character onto onto a target that I wasn't intending to hit. And so it started to become more of a hindrance than a help. So if you're really new and you're struggling with BDO's combat, like, this could be worth turning on. I will say that the description of this is actually pretty accurate. It does assist with these things that I would say it's recommended if you're new and you're really struggling with these things. But if, you want to maybe build up the muscle memory, not use them, kind of trial by fire a little bit, leave this turned off. It'll be easier, I think, in the long run. But again, if you need it, don't be shy to turn it on. I personally don't like it anymore. Show and hide. I do view character name and HP gauge. Always show family name. In terms of all these display things down here, I've just turned off ranking and RBF points, and I've also turned off amity status, but everything else I've left on. Again, I hide other people's pets. I hide the fairy, but I do want to see other people's campsites just so I know, like, if there's somebody in a certain grind spot, if I see their camp. Custom HP bar. Highly recommend turning that on. I find the HP bar at the top left really, really useless. Again, when I play, I want all my stuff kind of in like a box around my character, and like having to constantly glance up to the top left is not something I want to do. So I prefer this little HP bar down here. So I do turn that on. Attack decisions, again, we kind of went over this earlier. I just turn off combo video guide, but everything else here I do have on. Alerts, you're going to want to, this is like where if, you're like, oh, Dots, I started playing and there's alerts for literally everything that's going on and what other people are doing and I super don't care about it. Well, this is where you turn all that stuff off. So basically, I turn everything off except for zone changing, at least up here. I do want to know if I've left or entered a safe/combat/desert zone. I do find that useful. But, like, everything else I super do not care about, so I just turn it off. In terms of other alerts, I do have the Black Spirit quests updated. I do find that useful. Mortal Danger and Central Market pre-orders as well. I do find those useful, so I do have those turned on. World map, no animation. I find the spin when you open the map really super annoying, so I have that turned off. Same thing, world map camera angle is the default angle. You could change it to 30 or 90 degrees if you like that, but personally, I just like having it open to, that's the Black Spirit. I just like it having open to the default angle. But if you want to, so it's like goes straight up like this, you could, obviously set that here. So in terms of region, I have, voice language again to English. Chat filter I have turned off. I don't care if I see profanity. Game language, English. Chat channels, and receive international. I don't think I really mess with that. Misc, I have the classic theme. I use the guide fairy personally. If you don't like that, it's like the little orb thing that appears. That's like over there in the distance. I use that personally. But if you like the lines along the ground instead, you could obviously use those too. But I just personally, I really like the guide fairy myself. These navigation things I have on exact. I don't have any rejections on. You can turn them on if you get rejected. If you want to reject duels and stuff. Miscellaneous here. I have the auto run camera turned to on. Find that very useful. But everything else here I have completely off. Now, in terms of some other settings that I want to actually just touch on, because I just realized there was one setting that I didn't touch on here if I can't find it. General settings, show and hide. Okay, here we go. This is extremely useful. I just want to go back and highlight this. This is very, very, very useful. So if you are fighting somebody and you don't have this turned on, basically their health bar is just going to be a red bar. Now, when you walk up to that person, you have no idea if they're super, super geared or if they're super, super not geared, because everyone's HP bar will just be red. However, if you do this stacked HP bar, it'll have different colors and like a little number next to it that's like, let's say like 7x, 4x, 5x, right? And obviously it's an HP bar per 1000 HP. So you're able to accurately gauge how much health your opponent has if you have this turned on. But if you don't, then you can't. Huge quality of life thing. Definitely turn it on. Now, in terms of my user interface, so I have chat 1 and chat 3. I don't know why I don't have chat 2, but I think it's because it's a tab here. But I recommend having 2 or less chat boxes. The BDO UI is not good for performance, so I personally only do 2 chat boxes, one with my whispers And then the other ones down here, this is like the guild chat. You can set these up however you like. I have my chat one as guild, party, general, Arsha team, alliance, and staff. Basically all the chats I care about. The second one is world, server group, role play, and chat group. These are like all like my like major, you know, the big, like the world groups basically. And then chat 5 is just like kind of like the it's like the system messages, you know, notice, combat, basically this all the system messages, shit like that. I just put in here. And then chat 3 is just my whispers. I also recommend turning off the chat scroll animation and emoji animation just for a little bit of extra performance. So that's chat. But like I said, in terms of the rest of my UI, basically I have the mount always showing, information, family buff showing, function button always showing. I personally turn off my location and time just because I stream, so I don't want people to be able to snipe me. But if you don't stream, you could just turn that on. Minimap I turn on, main quest and quest widget I turn on. I highly recommend turning off game tips. It's like this scrolling bar at the bottom. I personally find it extremely annoying, so I turn it off. In terms of other things, I personally have my skill cooldowns, and I have 15, I guess technically 16, slots here to be able to track, no, 15, counting. 15 basically cooldowns here to be able to count, like, you know, see certain cooldowns that I really, really, really want to see depending on the character. On like this hash, I think I only track like maybe 12. But on my Guardian, I track like 15 skills just because I need to, they're like really important abilities that I need to track. I want to know what they're doing. So, you know, and because when you have stuff on cooldown, like this thing over here fills up really fast. So I find this to be very useful. Item drop log down here, kill notification. I like to have that turned on so I know when I get kills in Node War. Buff list, stamina, my HP bar, BSR, PvP. I don't know why it keeps turning itself off. I think this should be the right preset. There we go. PvP I have turned on. And so, yeah, this is how I have everything set up. Now, once you set up all of your settings, your UI, right, when you save this, save this one of the presets, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to settings. You're going to want to go to settings archive, and you are going to want to upload your settings just so that, God forbid, anything gets changed, you can re-download last save settings and fix it. And then what you're going to want to do, I'm not sure if this is still a bug, but if it is, it's going to aggravate you if you run into it, is you're going to want to, once you have everything settled, you're going to want to hit, not eat a cron meal. You're going to want to hit the end game button, disconnect, and then fully disconnect from BDO. That will lock in your settings. Because the thing is that if you don't, and you just play, and then you DC, or your game crashes, or something happens, all that work you just did will not be saved. So make sure you fully DC from the game. Now, I know in my previous guide, I had some like other settings for just, you know, my computer and things that I had done from the Ultimate Performance Guide that I changed. Personally, on my new rig, I find that doing those things does not really make my game run any better. I was doing like all this weird stuff with like my graphics card and changing all these settings and the affinities and blah, blah, blah. And like, I didn't feel I was gaining any performance. Now, the Ultimate Performance Guide and the stuff in that, you can find it on Reddit if you look for it. We'll link it in the description, though. It's good if you maybe have like a lower end PC and like BDO doesn't really run so good and like you need to squeeze every little frame out of the game, right? Like and your computer does not run BDO the best normally and you get a lot of stutters. Can be very, very good. But like if your game runs really solid overall, I personally did not find any improvement from doing those things personally. I mean, as you can see, like, you know, granted I am just standing in town, but I mean I have a 144 hertz monitor and I'm getting about 144 FPS, so I don't need really much more than what I already have. So I just let my PC do its thing, run BDO, and yeah, so I just wanted to kind of mention that. So if you have a good enough rig, you don't need to do those changes. But if you know, have a lower end PC and it's like maybe struggling to run BDO as well as it could, again, that guide's linked in the description below. And if you want to learn kind of what I did on my previous computer, I'll also link my older guide down below as well, so you can see what I ran on my old PC that was a little bit weaker than my current one. But guys, with that being said, I think that's going to be it for me today, updating the settings and performance guide for Black Desert Online. Hopefully you found this useful and helpful, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you smacked a like on the video. If you have any questions about my settings and stuff, feel free to leave a comment below, and of course subscribe for more BDO beginner guides and content. So thank you all so much for stopping by today. I do very much appreciate it. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next one.